on a project that we're doing on the Washington Bridge West that connects East Providence to Providence in a westerly direction. The critical finding was the failure of several critical structural components on that bridge. The failure is such that it could potentially be the cause of a catastrophic failure. So we're having to act upon that. This bridge was built in 1968. Through the grace of God, we're reconstructing it as we speak. And as part of that reconstruction, we found these critical faults to exist. The final analysis of that came to us earlier today. We met with state police, the governor's office, and coordinated what we're doing right here. We're closing down 195 West at the Washington Bridge. So we're closing it down as we speak. The state police are out there with RIDOT crews right now, closing that bridge down. Safety is number one. We know this is going to cause an inconvenience to commuters, but we needed to do this for the sake of everyone's safety. While we're closing it right now, there are several detours that people can avail themselves to that we recommend that you plan ahead and take one of these routes. Local traffic in East Providence can take exit 2, follow the detour signs to the Henderson Bridge, and then back over to 195 at the Gano Street on-ramp in Providence. The second detour would be for Southeast Massachusetts for people west of Fall River to take Massachusetts exit 1 and follow 114A onto 114, which is Pawtucket Avenue, or 1A, Newport Avenue, and take that to Route 95 north or south. And the third major detour would be Southeast Massachusetts traffic east of Fall River before you ever get to Rhode Island, and take Massachusetts exit 14B to Route 24 north and follow 495 to 95. Those are the three major. I'm sure there are many other options to folks. We ask all commuters to study their options and take the one that's most suitable for you. We expect all traffic westbound on 195 over the Washington Bridge to be closed for at least the next 2 to 3 weeks. During that time, we will be constructing a bypass of that section of the Washington Bridge by taking 2 lanes of the eastbound 195 bridge and diverting traffic onto those 2 lanes to go around this deficient bridge, this critical bridge section that will rejoin you with 195. We expect to have that work done with those 2 bypass lanes in about 2 to 3 weeks. Depends on the weather and depends on further conditions we find during that routing process. Those 2 lanes will remain open and be used for at least the next 3 months, at least. During that 3-month period, we'll be working on the reconstruction of these critical elements on these bridges to get them repaired and back in service in a safe way. We expect that work to take at least 3 months, depending upon the winter weather that we get and the snow conditions and the temperatures. It could be longer, but we'll certainly keep in frequent touch with you all to let you know exactly how the work is progressing and what the next steps are through the entire process. So, to recap, initially, we're closing right now all lanes of 195 West over the Washington Bridge. Those lanes will remain closed for at least the next 2 to 3 weeks while we create a bypass lane onto using a couple of the lanes on 195 East. That will remain in place for the next 3 months or so while we reconstruct these critical elements. We know that this is going to be an inconvenience. We're doing it after unanimous consent of all of our expert structural engineers that have looked at this structure and found this defect and have analyzed it. And unanimously, they have recommended that we close this bridge to traffic while we get it fixed. So we're doing that. In the meantime, we hope you'll be patient with us. We're sorry that this happened, but you've heard over the last 7 years me speak freely about some nearly 300 bridges that we've already repaired that have been structurally deficient for decades. During the last 7 years and ongoing into the next several years, we're rebuilding all of these structurally deficient bridges. While we're doing that, we're uncovering some cases of a critical nature like this, and we're repairing those also. But the number one objective here is to keep things safe for all of you, and we have done that so far. We intend on continuing to do that. So I'll open it up to questions now.
When you talk about the potential for a catastrophic failure, do you mean a collapse, a partial collapse?
That's correct.
And then how often did this bridge undergo any kind of inspection? Talking about pieces from 1968.
Some of the pieces that we uncovered during construction were covered so that they were not visible. In this case, the last time this bridge was inspected, we inspect our bridges of a critical nature every 2 months, and the last time that this was inspected was 2 months ago, and the defects did not exist. But this we caught before the 2-month cycle because of the ongoing construction and the engineers that we had on site that noticed this defect.
Can you specify the defects, any cracks in the foundations?
Yes, so there are certain sections of that bridge span that are cantilevered, that have pins that brace them to the abutting bridge to keep them from rocking. Those pins in several locations have been severed.
And what kind of impacts might this have on emergency crews trying to head to the hospital, mutual aid?
So part of what we do in instances like this, and during the last several hours, we have been working with state police and the emergency management agency here in Rhode Island to alert the various hospitals and alert them of the detours. This is standard practice. We do this in any of our reconstruction projects or in cases where we have emergencies. We communicate to all of the hospitals and all of the emergency facilities and any other fire and police departments along the way. We also I've spoken personally with the mayors of both East Providence and Providence. They have their police departments and their rescues all on alert, knowing about this and helping us solve this. And of course, the state police are out there with us, and we'll be working during the next several weeks to make sure that everything progresses safely.
And kind of to piggyback off that, Director Alviti, we talk about the Henderson Bridge being up there, and it's a weight limit restriction. We've had local fire crews reach out and tell us that, some of these big rigs and tankers won't be able to utilize that bridge. What kind of public safety concerns does that bring in?
So I don't believe the good news is that the new Henderson Bridge, I believe, is free of any of those kinds of conditions.
Okay.
So the new Henderson Bridge that we fortunately opened up 2 weeks ago is in service now and will be used as one of these detours.
Perfect.
Any reason the governor didn't show up to this briefing?
It's my job.
Okay. I mean, you talked to him earlier.
The governor has been briefed on this all along the way. So he's completely aware of what we need to do. He's confident in the people here at DOT and the state police that will conduct the what has to be done safely.
Did you mention when you found these defects?
Yes, we found them, we found the first notice of them on Friday morning, Friday afternoon. Our engineers worked over the weekend to do a more granular, detailed analysis of them, and we got the report this morning. As soon as we got the report this morning, we started putting into action a corrective plan. Any other questions?
Going into these detours to make sure they can handle this extreme addition of traffic?
So as I said, we're working with the mayors and the police departments of the two cities, Providence and East Providence, and they're already working with their various agencies to make sure that they're clear of any ongoing construction and to create better pathways along these detour routes for us. This is a team effort. Any other questions? Good.
Thank you.
Thanks for helping us get the word out. Appreciate it. It's very important that people get a clear understanding so that they can conduct their lives
Do
safely.
you mind if I happen on showing us where on the map the defects were on the bridge?
John, you'd be better at that. I mean, this is